the Sterling Heights Public Library. My name is Brent, and today we're going to play around with the compound butter I told you about for that beef tenderloin. So take a second, we'll go over the ingredients. We'll put a couple things together. We're going to play around with the food processor today, and we'll go from there. So we're going to need a stick of butter. This needs to be soft, but not necessarily completely soft. So we're going to go ahead and just unwrap that and drop it right in the food processor. I've got a little tub of crumbled blue cheese. We're going to throw that in there too. And then I'm going to chop up a couple of scallions. I got two nice fresh green onions here. I've already got the tips off them, so there's no roots on these. I'm just going to take these and chop them up reasonably fine. I don't need to take these all the way down teeny tiny because we're going to be throwing them in the food processor, but I don't want to throw them in whole. We're going to blend all this stuff up together. We'll form it into a log. I'll show you how to do that. And we're going to chill it. So once that's nice and firm, we can move on to seasoning and grilling our steak, and then put everything together and go from there. This is a super simple sauce, and I know that blue cheese can be polarizing. If you don't like blue cheese, you can go with just a scallion butter or garlic butter. You can throw in a little bit of feta cheese or whatever. There's a million different things you can do with a compound butter, but blue cheese and beef tends to go together very well. Okay, so come on over for a second here. We've got all three of our ingredients in the food processor. Go ahead and just pop the top on that, and you probably won't be able to hear me very well when this is running, so we're just going to pulse this a few times. It all comes together. Really close. It doesn't need to be completely smooth. Couple more pulses. All right. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out of here, turn it into a log, and chill it. So to form the log, we've got about 2 layers of plastic wrap here, just laid out on the cutting board. Pop the processor off here. You can see what that looks like inside. I'm just going to get the blade out of here. Scrape a little of that down here, but that'll be fine. This is a super simple sauce for this. And we're just gonna work that out of there. Plop it right down on the plastic wrap. You want to work relatively quickly with this because you want it to still remain relatively cool. If the stuff starts warming up, it's going to get very, very sticky, very soupy, very difficult to work with. So try to work relatively quickly and while things are cool. That's why you don't want the butter to be completely room temperature yet. And then once you got that in there, we're just going to start rolling this a little bit, and don't tuck that edge until you get it all the way over. Just kind of bring it on over like that, and then work the air out of there, and then just take the ends and give them a good twist. And as you do that, the whole thing's going to tighten up. You're going to get yourself a nice little log there. Now, this whole thing goes straight in the refrigerator. You can even put it in the freezer, but we don't need it to be frozen. We just need it to be chilled. And then once this is fully chilled, we'll be able to use that on our steak. We've got a couple of those steaks here. I mentioned before that it's a good idea to season these things a little in advance, so I went ahead and already seasoned them. They've been hit with a little salt, a little pepper, and just a touch of olive oil just to give them a little bit of lubrication and keep them moist. I've got my instant read thermometer we'll be able to use that to temp these things because they are a thicker piece of meat. We're going to take these outside and grill them. We got a nice hot fire here. It's not a real big one because I got two relatively small pieces of meat here. Put those directly on over direct heat. And just for fun, I'm going to take a little piece of apple wood and throw it right on the edge of those coals just for a little bit of smoke. That'll start to smolder and catch here in a minute, but it won't actually really do a whole lot of flavoring until we get to a point where we're going to put the cover on these just briefly for a little bit. So we've had a couple minutes on that first side, and we're going to do our first turn here. Looks like I got a little bit of a hot spot here, so I'll work with that a little bit. That little piece of apple wood starting to catch, so we'll turn these again in about 2 more minutes. So we're about ready to do our second turn, and we got, probably can't see it on the camera there, but we got little droplets of red starting to squeeze out around the edges. So see our lines are starting to take form here. Move this over to our hot spot there. That apple wood's going pretty good. Just going to go ahead and pop this right on there, and that'll knock down the flame on that wood and cause it to smolder, which is going to give us a little hint of smoke flavor in here too. So we're going to give these about another 2 minutes. We'll come back, do the final turn, and check the temperature, see if they've got to go a little further, and take them in the house and go. We're about ready for our next turn. So open this thing up. Got a turn there and there. See how there's some nice color developing on the outside of these. Feel like they're coming along very nicely. Go ahead and pop that cover back on. Continue to get that little bit of hint of smoke in there. We're not really doing a full-on smoke with this, but it just gives it a little bit of an extra dimension. I don't know that I mentioned earlier, but not only do you want to season your steaks a little bit ahead of time, but it's not a bad idea if you've got the time to pull them out of the refrigerator, you know, a little bit before you're going to actually cook them. I don't mean hours, you know, maybe 15, 20 minutes ahead, just so they have a little bit of time to start warming up a little bit so that they're not refrigerator cold when you put them on the grill. It's a little easier to control the temperature that way. So we're going to check our temperature now. I believe these are coming along very nicely. And I like to check the temperature from the side. Takes a moment for these things to read. That one's still a little bit on the rare side. I want to take it a little bit further, but not a lot. Check this one too. That one's ready to pull. So we want to account for a little bit of what we call carryover. That is, these things do continue to, the heat continues to penetrate from the outside to the inside for a couple minutes after you actually pull them off the heat. So account for that. Pull them when they're a little bit under where you actually like them, and they should come out to more where you actually want them. So that should be just about ready. I'm going to go ahead and close up the vents on this. Recheck the temperature on this just for giggles here. And I want to keep in mind that rare is about 120. Medium rare is about 130. Medium, you know, up closer to 135, 140-ish. Medium well, 150. For a fillet, don't take it beyond medium well. It just dries it out. Keep in mind that this is a very lean piece of meat. It has almost no fat in it. There is no marbling in a fillet, so overcooking it just dries it out. It does not melt any fat into it. We're going to take these inside, and we'll show you how to finish them up. So we've got our steak in here. We've got a little side salad with it, a baked potato, and I've got this compound butter we made up. Now, I made sure to do this far enough in advance that it had time to cool off. So I just went ahead and sliced a chunk of it, and I want to go ahead and just kind of pop that right out of the plastic, right on top there. And the heat from the steak is going to cause that to melt in. So let's just take a look inside that and see where we're at. Oh yeah. So we got a nice uniform pinkish red in there. That is a nice looking piece of steak. So this here, great option if you've got yourself a piece of tenderloin to work with. Works with other steaks as well. This compound butter is very versatile. You can do a lot of things with it. You don't have to limit it just to beef, and you don't have to make it with blue cheese if you don't want to. This is a real simple preparation, and it's real good. Make it yourself as opposed to getting it in a restaurant. A lot cheaper. Tenderloin with compound butter.